Hi guys, welcome back to Abby's Place, the place where no matter where you are, you can always feel a little at home. I'm your host, Abigail Martin. If you're joining us from Spotify, welcome. Apple Music, welcome. And YouTube, special welcome because y'all can see me right now. If you don't know, I'm filming all these and uploading them on YouTube. So if you want to hang out visually, head over to YouTube. If you just want to hang out audibly, Spotify and Apple Music works too. Okay, so it's snowing outside. You guys remember the last episode where I was like so excited for it to be warm and I was all like peppy and stoked again? I woke up this morning and I looked outside and there was just a sheet of snow everywhere. So that vibe is gone. But I'm back in my hermit vibe. I'm back in my hibernation vibe and we're chilling. I want to catch you guys up on what I've been up to in the last week. I have a few little funny stories that have happened. So do you guys remember last week when I told you that both my cars broke down? Um, well, I got them both fixed. My Forerunner and my van got them both fixed. The Forerunner had to have the radiator replaced, and the van had to have the battery replaced. So I did that, and then I went to go start my van yesterday, and guess what wouldn't start again? So I don't know what's wrong with it, but I am leaving tomorrow in the van to take a trip to Washington and Wyoming. I know, really random. I'm going to Washington to see my sister for like a late birthday celebration, and my mom and my grandma are going to. So it's like a 7 hour drive tomorrow up to Bellingham. And then after that, on Sunday, I'm driving from Bellingham to Jackson, Wyoming, which is like a 14-hour drive because my friend called me a couple weeks ago and was like, hey, I'm doing this film project. Do you want to be in on it? Like, do you want to act in it? And I was like, yeah, why not? That sounds great. And I didn't realize at the time that the dates would be so conflicting with my sister's get together. And so I kind of just like spread myself really thin. It's just going to be a lot of driving, but I already committed. And if there's one thing about me, I do not back out of anything. I won't. Growing up, my parents nicknamed me Tenacious A because one, I won't take no for an answer. And two, when I get my mind set on something, I don't stop until it's done. So when he asked me to be in this like short film kind of thing, I was like, I'm in. And then once I committed, I will not back out. So I don't care if I have to drive 14 hours. I don't care if the roads are going to be insanely snowy. It's going to be an adventure. And I'm actually really excited to be back in the van. It's honestly, I am a little bit worried, not worried, but like hesitant because I'm so comfy right now in the house. And also, your girl is in her luteal phase, guys. If you know, you know. I'm so sleepy this week. I'm so sleepy. All I want to do is lay in bed and sleep, but I have so much stuff to do that I can't. So I'm just like constantly functioning in this state of moderately tired. Um, and I really don't want to. I don't want to have to shower at Planet Fitness right now. I just want to be in my home, but like also I'm really excited to feel a bit inspired again and like go out and take a road trip, do the thing. I'm only gonna be gone like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I mean, knowing me, I'll probably be gone longer. I'm probably gonna get on the road and then be like, what if I went to the desert after this? Like, what if I just bopped down to San Diego? Like, knowing me, I'm overpacking because I'm probably not gonna be back in Bend in 2 weeks. And I love that about myself, but your girl is unpredictable. Abby right now does not know the Abby a week and a half from now, okay? She's going to be a different girl, and I can't trust her, so I have to prepare for her. But I'm moving back into the van soon, and I'm so excited. Also, another funny story that I want to tell you guys about before we get into the meat of this episode. So, this week, I was at the park with my dog, as we do. We go to the park almost every day. It's just this local park in Bend, and I'm walking, and I see this journal sitting on this like park bench table kind of thing. And I was like, "Ugh, I really want to read that journal." But then there was a part of me that was like, no, Abby, you can't read that journal. Like, that's someone's personal thoughts, and they left that there, and they're probably going to come back and get it. Like, what if they just left it and then they're like in the bathroom or something, you know? And so I was like, I can't read the journal. And I kept walking. And then I walked down the park and I just kept ringing in my head like journal on a park bench kind of has a good ring to it. And then I was like, oh, I have to check it out. Like I have to see. Curiosity killed the cat, right? So I walk back over to the park bench, I pick up the journal and I start reading. And y'all, the most devastating and poetic journal entries I think I might have ever read. Like, whoever left this there, I want to be friends with them so bad because their mind was just amazing. Um, and so I just sat there and kept reading. And then I've been leaning a lot into music recently. I've always loved music. I've always loved like playing music, singing songs, writing songs, performing, like all that kind of stuff since I was little. I mean, I was in every talent show growing up that I could be in. I was in every talent show. I was in choir. I was in every play that I could be in. I was always wanting to perform. I've been writing songs since I was like 7 and performing them for my parents, like just it was just always something that I loved. Like when I was little, I just remember having this such an intimate connection to music. And there's like a big story behind why that is, but basically like when I was little, went through a lot of trauma and music was the one thing like I held on to really closely, especially lyrics. And so anyway, I've always loved music and I've really kind of been leaning more into that since moving back into like a stable lifestyle, moving into the house. Because in the van, it's really hard to have any creative energy when you're living in a big metal box, because you're using so much energy just for like daily tasks. So I felt really uncreative and uninspired in the van most of the time. So moving into the house, I've had this like whole other side of me come out, which has been really fun. Um, but anyway, I've been leaning a lot more into music. I've been writing a lot of my own songs. I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere. I think it would just be nice to kind of pursue something that maybe I wouldn't have in the past, and also like do it for the sole sake of creating something and not actually trying to make it anything. Like I'm not, trying to like be a big singer-songwriter person. I'm just trying to like have fun with it and put something out there that I am proud of creatively. So anyway, I'm sitting there reading this journal and I was like, damn, this like journal on a park bench has such a good ring to it. And so then I just started like humming to myself and then I started like singing some lyrics and I was like, oh, I should write about this. Like, this is so cool. And also, reading the journal just reminded me of who I was when I was that age because you could tell this person is in high school. And so, yeah, I wrote a song about it and I really like it. And so I've been, singing it for my friends. And then yesterday, when I started taking guitar lessons with this instructor here in Bend, just for the sake of like improving my guitar skills, I started showing him my original songs and he was like, oh, we should record this sometime. And I was like, okay. So anyway, I went to his place yesterday with my friend Mason and we were just like messing around recording some stuff. So that might be a thing. That might be like a little side project. I don't even think it would be under my name. I don't even think I would really post about it. I think it would be like a completely separate side project, but that could be fun. And so anyway, I found a journal on a park bench and I wrote a song about it. If you want to hear it, I've posted a video up on my spam TikTok, which not a lot of people know about, but I have a spam TikTok. I'm gonna expose myself so hard right now. Y'all be prepared to see like a whole other side of me if you go look it up. I don't even know if I want to tell you the username. I will because I know I'm gonna get so many comments. Okay, the spam TikTok is glorified dirtbag. So many people tag me in the videos on there and they're like, Abby, this girl is stealing your content. And I'm like, damn, that fucking bitch. Like it's kind of a joke, you know? Um, but glorified dirtbag on TikTok is my spam TikTok and I posted the song on there and somebody like took it and like mixed it and like added some strings to it and stuff. I don't know, it was really cute. People really liked it and that was really fun. So, I did that this week. That's a whole side story. But I'm excited to be in the van this week and maybe like write some more stuff and feel a little bit more connected to parts of myself that I really haven't in a while, because I haven't been in the van in a minute. And when I was in the van last, I took this trip to the coast with this boy that I was hanging out with at the time. And it was super fun, but also I felt like I was kind of just following him around unintentionally. And it was just kind of like annoying in some ways. So I'm excited to like be alone again and just do whatever I want. So like I said, I'll probably be gone longer than a week and a half, but we'll see. So anyway, that being said, the next week's podcast episode is probably just going to be audibly. I might do it on video in the van, but like y'all, it's so hard to record in the van in so many ways. So like we'll see. I'm going to bring my film setup and everything regardless, but it might just be an audio episode next week. With that being said, I posted this question box on Instagram this week because I was like, what do you guys want to hear or see on the podcast? Because I was feeling a little bit uninspired. And a lot of people suggested just like stories from the road or advice of like for living in a van. Because that is, I feel like kind of my main niche is like van life travel content, even though I don't live full time in a van anymore. That's what I kind of became known for on social media. So it makes sense that y'all are curious about that. So I wanted to talk about some things I didn't expect from moving into a van and living on the road at such a young age. Because if you don't know, I moved into the van when I was 19 years old and I lived alone in it. Like I didn't even have my dog yet, so it was just me and this van. So I want to talk about some things I didn't expect and like share some stories from the road that I haven't really told on social media. Because it's just so fun to reminisce. And before this, I was kind of looking through my camera roll and old memories and stuff, and some things popped up that I completely forgot happened. And it's just really sweet to think back on. So, and also, if you're thinking of moving into a van, I think this might be helpful for you because these are just things that, like, if somebody would have told me these things, I probably would have been like, really? You know? So, anyway, first one that I want to talk about is I know a lot of people talk about decision fatigue on the road and how common it is, but I don't think you really realize how early it hits. Because I think people talk about like reaching decision fatigue a few months in. For me, it hit on day two. Okay. I moved into my van when I was 19 in February of 2021 and uh, moved into the van, immediately started driving south because I was trying to get out of the cold. Well, I didn't realize how many decisions I was going to have to make once I got on the road. I thought like once I'm on the road, once I'm driving in the van, everything will just like flow and fall into place. But there's just so many little things you have to think about, like first of all, where you're going to sleep for the night is a big one. That's always a big one. And sometimes when you get to a sleep spot, you realize, oh, that now you can't sleep here anymore. Like you check on our Everlander, you find a sleep spot, you get there and you can't sleep there anymore. And so you have to find another place, and that's another decision you have to make. And then you're there and you're like, well, now what do I do? Do I put up my window covers? Do I like start making dinner? Do I go take a walk? There's so many options that sometimes it just kind of gets exhausting, especially if you don't have any sort of routine, because, I think too many decisions can make it really, really, really hard to choose just one thing. And that's something I still struggle with to this day. But when I was first moving into the van, that was something I didn't really expect to happen. I thought it would just kind of flow, and that was something I really struggled with early on and had to kind of adjust to. So decision fatigue is a big thing, and I think the main way you can combat that, especially when you're living on the road, is just by this sounds so cliche, but just like not thinking about it. Just trying to not think about it and just do it. When you have that standstill of like, oh, I feel like fatigued and I don't know what to do and I don't know what step to take next. Just take the next right one. Just go for a walk, make a coffee. Another thing I didn't expect is how the best part of being on the road would be the people. And I know that this isn't something new that I'm talking about. Like, this is a very shared experience, but when I was first moving into the van, I had this big idea in my head of I'm going to go to all these national parks and I'm going to be going to different spots every day. I'm going to go to all 50 states and I'm just going to be like going, 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 constantly on the move. And I'm going to be filming everything and all this. Newsflash, the first 3 months I spent in the van, majority of them were in San Diego. Okay. San Diego was gonna be like a 1 week stop for me. I was gonna be there for a week and then like leave because I wanted to go see so many other things. But I get there and I meet a bunch of friends and I end up getting super close with all these people. And it was really hard to leave that. Like, I finally felt like I had found this really cool community, and leaving that felt like I was giving up a lot. And I was really, really scared to leave it because I felt so uncertain of so many things in the van at the time that I just wanted to latch on to any sense of comfort. So being with these people felt really comfortable, and I didn't leave San Diego for 3 months. So that was completely unexpected. And with that, also, unexpected things will happen and things will go wrong. So my first my first day, no, yeah, my first day on the road, hitting the road in my van, I I was driving and I had just filled up my water tank for the first time, and little 19-year-old Abby decided not to test her water system before she moved into her van. So I was like, I'll just like test it when I'm on the road. The reason I didn't want to test it is because it was freezing in Washington. I didn't want my pipes to freeze. So I tested it as soon as I got to Oregon because it was no longer freezing. So I filled up my water once I was in Oregon, and I had never tested before, like I said. So I'm driving and I keep hearing my water pump like turning on intermittently. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's just because I'm driving and the water's sloshing around and it keeps like depressurizing itself. And then I look back in the back of the van and my whole floor is flooded. So I'm literally 9 hours into my first day of van life, and my entire floor is completely flooded. And I immediately am like, Google Maps, like Home Depot, Home Depot, like, please help me. And so I pull into Home Depot. I turn off my water pump. I'm in the back with a bunch of paper towels and regular towels, like anything to sop up this water. My poor floor is just like completely soaked. And I go into Home Depot and I'm like trying to figure out what's wrong with my water system, like what parts are leaking and all of this. And it turns out I had just over tightened one of the connections. And because I over tightened it, um, and I over tightened it with plumber's tape on it. And this connection had a like a soft seal grommet on it. So basically, I didn't need the plumber's tape, and the plumber's tape and combination of over tightening it was making it leak. And I didn't know that. And so it took me like 2 hours of just sitting in this parking lot, like almost crying. I'm sweating. It's cold out. I have like nobody around me. I'm alone. I'm 19. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's throwing off my whole travel schedule. And finally, I figured it out. I'm like, yes, oh my God. Um, and I got back on the road, but things will go wrong unexpectedly so quickly, and you just have to one, be ready for it, and two, know that you can figure it out. Because I knew that I had just built that whole water system and like I was gonna, find out a way to deal with it, but it was definitely disheartening for that to happen so quickly. Not only that, but I think this was day 3 on the road. So I drove from Washington through Oregon, down through Northern California, and then to the Mojave Desert to meet up with some friends. But when I was in NorCal, I slept at the Golden Gate Bridge. If you know, you know. There's a park and ride at the Golden Gate Bridge where you can stay overnight. Should you stay overnight there? No. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I pull into this parking lot, and this is the only spot on iOverlander. If you don't know, iOverlander is this app where you can like search out free campsites. And there's spots everywhere, all over the US. And there's people that review the spots, and you can take pictures and post them there. So it's kind of like a social media, but for like where you should park that night. So I cannot find anywhere to park in San Francisco except for the spot at the Golden Gate. And I'm like, in my head, perfect. I'm gonna park right next to the Golden Gate. I'm gonna wake up for sunrise. I'm gonna see the sunrise over the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh my God. Amazing. I pull into this parking lot and there are signs everywhere in this parking lot saying, do not leave valuables in your car. Break-ins are common here. Something along those lines of like, don't leave valuables in your car because cars get broken into all the time, right? At every parking spot, there is one of those signs. So they are like trying to tell people, hey, don't, like, this is a dangerous place to park. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that sign can't stop me because I can't read. I'm like, wait, but that doesn't apply to me because I'm just a girl and like only good things ever happen to me. So I'm chilling, right? Like everything's gonna be fine. So I'm like, I'm chilling, everything's gonna be fine. So I get into my park spot and I'm filming some videos and I'm having a good time. And, sun starts to set and I'm like, okay, I should probably just like, you know, hang out in my van now and not go outside like my mom told me to. Like after dark, you don't go outside. So I put my window covers up and I'm in my van. I make some tea and I go to bed. And I'm asleep. And about 2 a.m. rolls around, I start to hear noise outside. And I'm like, it's probably just people like outside drinking and partying, right? We're at the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, it's going to be loud. I'm in a city. This is San Francisco, right? So I'm like, it's probably fine. Until I start to hear chatter of someone going, yeah, van life or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, they're talking about van life. Like maybe they're talking about someone else. And then I start to hear it come closer. Like the voices are coming closer to the van. And I was like, I think they're talking about me. So I'm sitting in there and I'm just like intently listening, and then they start knocking on my van. And I was like, what the fuck do I do? Like I have my phone in my hand, first of all, and I had methods of protection. My van is locked, and I had methods of protection to like protect myself in case I needed. So I have my methods of protection in my hand, and I have my phone in my hand. I'm about to call 911, and then it hits me. I'm like, what's 911 gonna do? Like, they're probably not gonna get here for like half an hour. And then like what's gonna happen? So I'm just sitting there, and also I kind of was just like, maybe I'll just wait it out for them to go away. Anyway, well, I should have just called 911. I should have called 911, or I should have set my car alarm off, but I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. So I'm sitting in there, and they're like knocking on my van, and then they start pushing my van, and I hear them being like, van lifer, like, come out, van lifer, ha ha ha, like laughing about it. They sounded like drunk college kids, and I could hear like bottles clanking outside. So I knew that they were probably just kind of messing with me. I knew that they weren't really probably gonna, they weren't dangerous. And also there's other van lifers sleeping in this lot, and they probably could hear what was going on. And so I didn't feel like incredibly unsafe, but also I was freaking out inside. I'm sitting there, I'm 19, it's 2 a.m., and I'm alone in this metal box. And these guys outside are shaking my van. I don't know how many there are of them. And so I don't know what to do. And finally, it felt like forever, but it was probably like 5 minutes that they were at this. And finally, they stopped and they just like walked away. And I ended up staying up the entire night, obviously. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go, too, because I couldn't just, if I drove away, I would have nowhere to sleep. And I think nobody really tells you about this is like, if I drove away, the closest sleep spot probably would have been like at least an hour or two away. And also, I was just like so terrified that I didn't want to drive. And I thought if I got in my front seat that they would see me. Like, I didn't know if they were out there or not. So I was like, I'm just going to stay put. So I ended up staying put in the morning. I left, but that was like my third night on the road. And that to this day is probably the only really scary thing that's happened to me in the van. Like, that's my only like van life horror story, really. I haven't really had any other terrifying experiences. So it's just funny that that happened a couple days in. But anyway, yeah, things go wrong. My water leaked in my van. Day one, my water leaked in my van. Day three, I have people knocking and pushing my van at the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. The week after that, I ended up getting COVID and had to quarantine in the desert with a bunch of people, which was actually super fun. And then a month into van life, my entire electrical system just like shut off, and I had to figure that out. So stuff happens, and you just kind of learn to roll with the punches. I've had a million things go wrong. I still have things go. I mean, my van wouldn't start yesterday. Like, I'm not even living in it, and shit still goes wrong. So you just figure it out as you go, and it really becomes not such a big deal. One thing I will say that I thank myself for, that I think is a highly debated topic in the community, is like whether to get a newer van or an older van. And I thank myself so hard that my first van was a 2017 Ford Transit. First of all, Ford Transit's one of the more reliable options, okay? The repairs are usually not very expensive, and Ford shops are everywhere. And also, transits are just like a pretty reliable van in general. If you're like getting into van life, I highly recommend getting a transit if you can. They're great. And second of all, it was a 2017, so it was like pretty new when I got it. But I did have to take out a loan on it. But in my head, I was like, I would rather take out a loan and have a monthly payment on this van, which my monthly payment was $200 a month, something I could afford. I would rather have a monthly payment on this van than have to break down, pay for a mechanic bill, pay for a tow truck, and then not have a place to live, you know? So I wanted to spend the extra cash up front, and I ended up working longer to be able to afford it. Then getting an older van and paying less upfront, but then having to spend money on mechanical bills and hotels and rental cars and possibly having to go home and like all this stuff. So if you're getting into van life and you're debating, should I get an older van? Should I get a newer van? 100%, I will always say, if you can buy a newer van, get the newer van. Now, I know not everyone can do that, and not everyone likes to finance stuff, but in my head, I would just rather finance if I have to. And my first van, I didn't even get with a traditional car loan. I got it with a personal loan. So anyway, if you have the choice, get a newer vehicle. All my vehicles, well, yeah, all my vehicles have been like relatively new. I've never gotten a vehicle that's like over 10 years old, I think. So that is my that's my advice. Um And with that, with things going wrong, things also will go right so unexpectedly. And the most memorable experiences are usually the ones that are unexpected. You can plan your trip out to a T, and usually the most fun you're going to have is the things that you didn't expect to happen. You can plan like we're going to do this hike and go to this national park and do this and this and this. And your favorite experiences are probably still going to be the ones that you had no idea to expect. For example, when I moved into the van, like I said, I drove to San Diego and I immediately just like started loving the warm weather. But I was like, I'm only going to be here a week and then I'm going to get back on the road and I'm going to go to Joshua Tree and I'm going to go to the desert and I'm going to, start heading east a little bit, maybe drive to Colorado and do all this stuff. Um, and so I was planning to leave San Diego the next day. So I'm parked in San Diego. I'm getting ready for bed, and the next day was going to be the day I headed out. Well, and this is also some tea. This is a story time along with some tea at the end because there's a plot twist, so just you wait. Anyways, so I'm in my van in San Diego, planning to leave the next day. I'm getting into my van. It's late at night, and I have my back doors open, and I'm like getting some stuff out of the back, and this guy pulls up on a one wheel. My friends will know who I'm talking about. He pulls up on a one wheel, and he's like, "Hey, do you live in there?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I live in the van behind you." And I saw there's like a ProMaster parked behind me. And I was like, "Oh my God, cool. You want to be friends? Like, you want to hang out? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, do you want to like come hang out in my van and we can just like sit and talk?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, this guy seems super cool." So he also was like kind of cute. So I was like, this is so fun. It's like 9 p.m. and I'm about to leave the next day, but like I had made it a goal for myself to say yes to any experience, right? So I said yes, and we're sitting in his van and we just immediately hit it off. We're just like gabbing, having so much fun. We're laughing. Like honestly, 10 out of 10 night. It was just so fun. It wasn't really romantic at all. We were just hanging out. So we end up hanging out till like 11 or midnight maybe. And then he's like, "Hey, tomorrow, some friends and I are going to the desert and we're gonna throw like this desert DJ set rave kind of thing." And I was like, "Well, I'm supposed to leave San Diego tomorrow." And he's like, "Well, why are you leaving?" And I was like, "Well, 'cause I just feel like I have to leave." And he's like, "Well, that's not a good enough reason. You should come to the DJ desert party." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Yeah, that sounds good." Random stranger that I just met. So I said, "Yeah, I'll join you and a bunch of other random people that I don't know in the desert and go party. Yeah, that sounds awesome." So I go out the next day. I drive 2.5 hours to Anza Borrego, which is a desert in SoCal. We drive out to the middle of this desert. It's like to get there, you have to drive through like pretty deep sand and people are getting stuck and like you can't really slow down on this road or else you'll get stuck and it's just kind of like an adrenaline filled day, right? And I also don't know anyone there. So I pull up, I'm alone in my little van and the only person I know there is this boy that I had just met. Let's call him Steve, okay? Steve Steve and I are like hanging out, but Steve also has to entertain all these other people around him. And Steve also has girls coming in and out of his van. So I don't know what's going on with Steve, but like that's my only friend that I knew there. But I quickly made other friends there and it ended up being like one of the funnest times that I had never expected to happen in the van, right? So we pull up, he immediately sets up this DJ table. Like there's a full DJ set, there's a sound system. He brings palm trees and sets them up in front of his van. And there's like a whole circle of vans out here. There's like disco lights, and it was just like such a vibe. And then that night, everyone decided to indulge in some psychedelic mushrooms, right? I don't know if I can say that on here, right? Can I say that? I don't know. But everyone decided to indulge in mushrooms, the special kind. And girl, I'm 19. I had never done mushrooms before. And so, but I said, that sounds awesome. I'm so excited. So they're handing out these chocolates. And I take this chocolate and I take half of it first. And your girl has a sensitive tummy. Okay. Hot girls have tummy issues, and I am one of them. So I take this chocolate and I take half of it, and about half an hour in, I can start to feel like a little something, but I'm like, this isn't strong enough. And everybody else took a full one, and I want to be with everyone else. So I took the other half. Big mistake, because about 30 minutes after that, I am just full on, just in another world. And also my stomach is killing me. And so I end up having like this kind of not a bad trip, but just like a pretty heavy trip because my tummy hurt really bad. I called my mom. I said, Mom, I just took mushrooms for the first time. My tummy hurts. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. And she was like, Abigail Martin. And I was like, I know, I'm so sorry. But anyway, it ended up being like this just really silly experience, and I'll never forget it. And it was completely unexpected. But tea for you guys, tea time, because this shit's crazy. And I just found this out like last year. Okay, I didn't, I didn't know this until like a year ago, right? That that night was unexpected for me, right? The night where I met this guy, the night where he pulled up on his one wheel behind my van and said, "What's your name? Do you live in a van? Oh my God, nice to meet you. What a crazy coincidence. I'm parked right behind you." That's, to me, divine intervention. To me, the universe said, "Here's a friend." To him, he had been planning it. Okay, okay, okay. Huh. I found this out from a friend. That he had been messaging people, trying to figure out where I was and like who I was and where I was gonna be parking. He found out that I was gonna be parking on the street that night because I guess he watched my Instagram story or something. And so he parked behind me and he had orchestrated that entire experience. So I, for the last 4 years, have been telling people I'm so thankful that I ran into him that night because he ended up introducing me to like all my closest friends that were in San Diego at the time. Like, I'm so thankful for that. Oh my God, universe. Wow, it's so cool what just happens when you're just, unexpected. No, 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 no. No, that was completely planned. He had low key been stalking me and orchestrated that experience, and he never told me about it. And to this day, I have never talked to him about it. If you're watching this, what the fuck? What the fuck was that? Um, I honestly, I'm not even mad about it. I think it's just like kind of funny because I'm like, what? That's crazy. This guy had literally been planning this out and acted the whole time. He acted like he didn't know me. He acted like this was just some twist of fate. And turns out he'd been planning the whole thing. And honestly, I'm flattered, but also pretty damn creeped out. So I've had a few like kind of stalker situations in the van. That one takes the cake, to be honest, because not only did that happen, but him and I ended up having like this romantic relationship for like a month after that. So he played his cards, but I still don't know whether to be like, that's some dedication or that's fucking weird, right? But anyway, the best things that happen to you will usually be unexpected. Maybe just for you, maybe not for the other person. Okay, we're gonna pivot for a second after telling that tea, after spilling some tea with you guys. When you're moving into a van, sometimes it's hard to figure out hobbies, but outdoor hobbies will make your life so much easier. If you're into like a few outdoor hobbies, it will just like amplify the experience of living in a van so much because you have so many other things to do. Because living in a van is one thing, but like when you don't have anything to do in it, it's really boring. So doing things like surfing or running or hiking or backpacking or anything will just make your experience so much better. And if you're not into any outdoor hobbies, just try some. Just try some and like see what sticks. You don't have to love everything. To be honest, I don't really like skiing. So that's why I don't really ski very much. I would much rather surf. But I've just kind of tried it all, and now I know what I like and what I don't like. So outdoor hobbies are great. Oh, wait, I want to go back to the unexpected stuff. So going along with unexpected stuff, I ended up getting a dog a couple months into living in the van, 6 months into it, and I actually was just looking at pictures of little baby Archie. But I adopted a dog. He was 3 months old, and I had told everyone like I'm not getting a dog because getting a dog would make van life already like an already hard lifestyle just so much harder. But then I was hanging out with a bunch of people with dogs and they influenced me to get a dog. So I was looking on Pet Finder at like local shelters nearby and I was in Utah and I saw a picture of Archie. I was like, yeah, he's cute. Like he's cute. Like he's a cute dog. I want to go check him out. So I drove an hour to the shelter and I get there and I was not expecting to take a dog home that day. I frankly did not have anything prepared to take a dog home. But I get there and I take Archie into a little room by myself with him and and he just immediately falls asleep on my lap. And I couldn't I couldn't leave him at the shelter after that. I was like, you have to come with me. So I ended up adopting a dog 6 months into living in a van. I'm 19. He's 3 months old. I've never taken care of a dog before alone. I've also never lived in a van with a dog. I've also just barely lived in a van. But it just felt right. And luckily, I lucked out with Archie. Archie has always been the easiest dog to have in a van, okay? He's only ever had like 2 accidents in the van ever, and they've both been like number one, like pee accidents. He's never had like a number two accident in the van. He's like thrown up a couple times, but that's whatever. But he's a very clean dog and he's very respectful of the space. He doesn't want to get dirty either, right? Um, he's sheds a lot, but that's about it. But he's always been the easiest dog to have in the van. He's just the best road tripper. He doesn't get car sick. He's just, oh, chef's kiss. He's amazing. But I will say, I have had friends with different experiences with dogs. So if you are going to get into a van with a dog, make sure it's a good fit, because I've had friends who move into a van, are having a great time, they get a dog, and getting the dog makes them move out of the van because it's just not a good fit for the dog. So I will say, if you are going to adopt any sort of animal in the van, test it out first, make sure it's a good fit for both of you, and make sure that the dog is going to enjoy the experience as much as you do, because if it doesn't, it's just going to make it so stressful for both of you. And also, if you already have a dog and you're moving into a van, maybe like give them some time to adjust into it first, because I've also heard of stories with friends with that happening, where they move into a van with a dog and the dog just does not do well in it with the like stark adjustment. So anyway, I lucked out with Archie, but I also have seen so many other experiences with people in vans with dogs. So I get that question a lot of like, what was it like to move into the van with Archie when you first got him? And for me, it was super easy, but I know that experience is not a incredibly shared one. But also, as Archie's gotten older, he has gotten a little less accustomed to the van. He doesn't love trips in the van as much as he used to. He does like a good road trip, but I can tell it stresses him out a little bit more. And he really has enjoyed relaxing into the house. Like right now, he's literally sprawled across all of my pillows on my bed, sitting in front of me right now. And it's just been really nice for him to kind of relax. We've just both been able to kind of take a breather. And honestly, our relationship has gotten so much better since moving into the house, because living in the van with him, like I love him so much, but you're spending 24/7 with anyone, your relationship kind of suffers. And I want my relationship with my dog to be a positive one. So Archie and I have gotten a lot more chill since moving into the house. But I am excited to be back in the van with him this week. I think it's going to be really fun. And I also think that, like, I'm excited to revisit that part of myself too. Every time I hop back into the van, even if I'm just driving it, I just feel like there's all these parts of me that come out again. And I feel like a little kid, like being able to run around, and I feel excited. And it's just going to be fun. After this, I'm going to pack up my clothes and start like getting the van ready. I got to test out my heater to make sure it works, because I haven't tested it in a while, but I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm really excited to revisit that part of myself. And also, I haven't been to Wyoming in years. The last time I was in Jackson was when I was in my last relationship. And I will say, revisiting places that you've been while you're traveling, it just feels like kind of revisiting little pieces of home. Like, I haven't been to the Tetons since I was in my last relationship, and I think I was 21 at the time. Maybe I was 20. I think I was 20 actually. So I don't know. It'll just be like a fun little reunion just for me and myself. And I'm excited to bring my guitar and maybe write some songs out there. It just, yeah, yeah, I'm a lot more excited actually than I think I let myself be. Um, and lastly, I will say, even though there's been some experiences in the van that have been questionable and somewhat scary, I will say the world is a lot less scary than you think. I get so many comments online saying, I want to do this, but I'm so scared, and I feel like, you know, the world is so unsafe, and I don't know how to handle myself, and I don't want to do it alone. Like, I'm terrified. I would, I wish I could just show you guys my perspective that I've like learned over the last couple years on how unscary the world actually is, and like how you can kind of trust your judgment in every situation to kind of get you out of it. And yeah, there are things that go wrong, and there's some shit out there that you can't control, and that is scary, but also for the most part, I like to believe that most people have good intentions and most people are kind and most people do not want to see you get hurt. Most people do not want to see you scared. Um, and most of the time, if you are in a tough situation, there will be someone good there to help you out. Um, I have been in so many situations that I feel alone in and scared in, and the kindness of strangers has been immeasurable, especially from strangers online. It's just, yeah, you guys have held my hand through a lot of stuff. So the world is a lot less scary than you think. And the more you experience it, the more you understand that, you know? And also the more comfortable you get with handling the scary situations. So if you're thinking of getting into solo travel, whether it's in a van or backpacking in other countries or whatever, just always keep one eye open and always stay aware, but also don't expect the worst all the time. Because most of the time, if you're looking for something bad, you're going to find something bad. But if you're looking for good, you're most likely going to find some really, really, really cool experiences. So I think that's kind of like my biggest advice is just like expect good things, be prepared for not good things, but most of the time shit'll work out in your favor. Okay, I'm going to keep this episode kind of short and sweet because last episodes have been sort of long. So this one I'm going to cut off right here. But I want to talk about some current favorites. This is a segment I do in every episode of just talking about some things that I'm really enjoying recently. First being music, because as you guys know, I'm a big music fiend and I consume a lot of music. So my current favorites right now are ones that are more like folky and chill. Like I said, I'm in my luteal phase, so I'm really tired this week, and the music I've been listening to kind of reflects that. So the first one is a new release, and it's called Too Late by the National Forest. The National Forest is a band run by this guy named Logan Bowden, and I love his music. I've loved his music for so long. He's so talented. They just released this song under the alias or like the name The National Forest called Too Late, and it is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful song. Oh my gosh. When I listened to this for the first time, I had to stop my car and just like park for a second because I was like, whoa. There's not many lyrics in the song. It's very short and sweet, but the harmonies and the melody are just so incredibly beautiful. And it portrays this certain emotion that just go listen to it, okay? After the podcast, go listen to this song. It is like pretty sad, but it's really good. Second is more of a happy song and more of like a road trippy song, and I love listening to this when I'm like just getting into the car on a road trip. And it's called Love Come and Save Me by Right Away Great Captain. And it's just like this calm, like it makes you feel nostalgic in a way. Um and it's very slow but hopeful and also kind of bittersweet, and I don't know, I just really love it. And then the last one is called Just One Break by Josiah and the Bonnevilles. And this song I just discovered a few days ago. And I just really like it. It's just a really easy listen. Another good road trip song. And like I said, I am going to be putting all of these into a playlist on Spotify. I just haven't yet. So I need to go through and like get all these songs into one playlist. But those will be those will be in a playlist on Spotify, and I'll post that on my Instagram story. Also, giveaway winner is going to be announced. Well, I'm filming this on a Thursday, so I'm going to announce the giveaway winner after this. So that's going to be done. Anyway, those are my 3 current favorite songs for the week. My last current favorites that are just random are matcha. I've been enjoying a ton of matcha recently, especially for my ADHD. If you don't know, I got diagnosed with ADHD like 4 months ago, and life-changing diagnosis. Always kind of knew that I had it, but having a doctor actually be like, yeah, you have this, and makes a lot of sense why you are the way you are. I said, "Oh, really? Wow, that's kind of validating that I'm not just like stupid. I just have some issues sometimes with retaining information and also paying attention." So matcha has been super helpful. There's a lot of evidence to support that matcha is really good for people with ADHD rather than coffee. And so I've been drinking a ton of matcha recently. Um, Another really lovely thing that I have been enjoying in a lot of my friendships are being honest when people ask how you are. I feel like this is not a very common thing. Someone comes up and they're like, "How are you?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm really good. I'm doing great." When in reality, you're not. And this doesn't mean you have to trauma dump on everyone as soon as they ask how you are. Like if someone asks how you are and you're just like, "Actually, I'm doing terrible," and like all this stuff is happening, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's not what you want to do, but just being like, "You know what? Like I've been better, but thank you for asking." it's just honesty is so refreshing, and honesty and authenticity in any situation makes me feel really comfortable when I'm around someone. So if you have the choice to, and if you feel vulnerable enough, just be like, you know, be honest with how you are. If you're doing great, say that, portray that emotion. But if you're not doing great, don't feel like you have to like act like you're doing great. And third obsession, Severance. Severance is a TV show on Apple TV. Recently discovered it a few weeks ago, have been on and off watching it, and really, really, really good show. Every episode I watch makes me be like, what the fuck, even more. So Severance is a super good show that I've been watching. Also Ted Lasso. Whenever I'm sad, I watch an episode of Ted Lasso and it immediately makes me happier. I've probably watched it like 4 times through and I love it. So those are my current obsessions. Matcha, being honest when people ask how you are, and Severance. And then lastly, kind of Ted Lasso, but that's an always obsession. Okay, anyway, thanks you guys for being here. Hopefully I'll catch you next week when I'm in the van. Either it'll be an audio episode or we might just skip next week, but I'm hoping we'll see. Like I said, I don't know the girl I'm going to be next week. But thank you guys for joining. Thanks again for all the love and support on the podcast. I've been getting so many messages from people, just like paragraphs and paragraphs about how y'all have been loving the podcast. And I read all of them and I'm trying to take the time to respond to them. But the response has just been so kind. And I'm just really happy that we all kind of have a place to hang out and a place where I don't feel like I need to say everything I want to say in 60 seconds, you know? So anyway, just thank you for being here. It's just so fun to have this little space, and I'm glad we get to chat for an hour and spend this time together. So I'm really happy you're here. I'm excited for the next episode. Hopefully I'll have some fun stuff to talk about in the next episode because, like I said, I'm going to be on a road trip. So I'll catch you guys up soon. But for now, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for coming over, and I'll see you next Monday. Love you. Bye.